These are the devastating tragedies that have shaped Troy Landry's life, the beloved King of the Swamp, from History Channel's hit show, Swamp People. From heartbreaking deaths of close friends to his own cancer battle and his infant grandson's fight for life, Troy's journey has been marked by unimaginable loss and pain that would break most people. But let's understand who Troy Landry really is before we explore the darkness that has haunted this Louisiana legend. Born on June 9, 1960, in the small bayou town of Pierre, Louisiana, Troy came from a lineage that runs as deep as the swampland itself. He's the fifth generation in his family to own an alligator hunting business, growing up surrounded by crocodile hunters, shrimpers, trappers, moss peddlers, and lumberjacks. His parents, Duffy and Myrtle Landry, raised him in the ways of the bayou, where survival meant understanding the land, the water, and the dangerous creatures that called it home. Troy married his wife Bernita in September 1981, and together they built a life in the heart of Louisiana's Atchafalaya River Basin, the largest swamp and wetland in the United States. They raised 3 sons together, Chase, Jacob, and Troy's stepson Brandon Hoddard, who goes by Brandon Landry on the show. For years, Troy lived the quiet life of a gator hunter and crawfish distributor, earning his living from the same waters his ancestors had worked for generations. Everything changed on August 22, 2010, when Swamp People premiered on the History Channel. The show follows alligator hunters during Louisiana's 30-day gator season, when these families earn most of their yearly income. Troy's fearless approach to hunting and his infectious personality, complete with his famous catchphrase, "Chut em," made him an instant fan favorite. His striped polo shirt, which he considers his lucky shirt for catching big gators, became as iconic as the man himself. The show's success transformed Troy from a local bayou legend into a national celebrity. He trademarked not just "Chut em," but also "Tree Shaka," "Tree Breaka," "Mud Africa," and "Got Gator," turning his colorful expressions into a merchandising empire. With nearly 300 episodes under his belt and earnings of up to $25,000 per episode, Troy built a net worth of $2 million according to Celebrity Net Worth. But fame came with a price, and that price would be paid in heartbreak. The first tragedy to rock Troy's world came on May 14, 2012. Mitchell Guist, a fellow cast member and close friend, died suddenly while doing what he loved most. Initially reported as a seizure, it was later revealed that Mitchell suffered a heart attack while loading items onto his boat on the Belle River near Pierre. He was only 47 years old. The History Channel released a statement saying, "Mitchell passed on the swamp, doing what he loved, but for Troy, losing Mitchell was like losing a brother." They had worked the same waters, shared the same dangers, and built a friendship that went far deeper than television cameras could capture. Mitchell's death was a harsh reminder of how dangerous their way of life truly was. Every day on the swamp carries risks that most people can't imagine. One wrong step, one moment of carelessness, and the bayou claims another life. For Troy, who had grown up understanding these dangers, losing Mitchell hit differently. It wasn't just the loss of a friend but a glimpse into his own mortality and the fragility of the life he'd built. 6 years later, tragedy struck again. On September 15, 2018, Randy Edwards, another beloved cast member, died in a car accident in Louisiana. Randy was only 35 years old when his car crashed into a utility pole around 3 a.m. on LA 75 south of LA 66. State police suspected impairment in the crash. Randy left behind a wife and 3 children, a family suddenly torn apart by another senseless loss. For Troy, who had watched Randy grow from a young hunter into a skilled gator expert, the news was devastating. The swamp family was shrinking, and each loss cut deeper than the last. The most personal blow came in June 2022, when Troy faced his own mortality. At 62 years old, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. In his characteristic straightforward manner, Troy shared the news with his fans on social media, saying, "Surgery went good. No more prostate. It was ate up with cancer. Dr. Alexander and his crew are doing an awesome job. Hoping to go home, Tom." Special thanks to Miss Dottie and all our fans for all the prayers and kind words. Got to recover before Gator season gets here. The timing couldn't have been worse. Gator season was approaching, the time of year when Troy and his family earn most of their income. But cancer doesn't wait for convenient timing. Troy underwent surgery to remove his prostate entirely, facing the reality that the disease had spread throughout the organ. For a man who had spent his entire life conquering the dangers of the swamp, being laid up in a hospital bed was the greatest challenge he'd ever faced. The surgery was successful, but recovery was long and difficult. Troy, who was used to being active and independent, had to rely on others during his healing process. The man who could wrestle 12-foot alligators was temporarily reduced to taking things one day at a time, praying his body would heal in time for the next hunting season. It was a humbling experience that reminded him how precious life truly is. Just as Troy was recovering from his cancer battle, another crisis emerged that would test his family's strength in ways they never imagined. On July 13, 2024, Troy's grandson Crue was born to his stepson Brandon and daughter-in-law. But what should have been a joyous occasion quickly turned into every parent's worst nightmare. Crue was diagnosed with biliary atresia, a rare liver condition that affects the bile ducts and prevents bile from properly draining from the liver. For months, Troy's family kept Crue's condition private, hoping that medical interventions would solve the problem. Crue underwent a corrective procedure, but as Troy later revealed, the procedure failed. The little boy's condition progressed into end-stage liver disease, meaning he would need a liver transplant to survive. The family was facing the very real possibility of losing the newest member of their clan before he'd even had a chance to experience life. In February 2025, Troy broke his silence about Crue's condition, explaining that he had kept quiet out of respect for his son and his family, but decided to share the story, to help raise awareness that organ donors are true heroes. The family received a call on February 19 about a potential liver donor, but the transplant couldn't proceed because the liver wasn't a perfect match. The waiting continued, each day bringing both hope and fear. Finally, in June 2025, a donor was found. Baby Crue, not even a year old, went into surgery for a liver transplant. Brandon shared a heartbreaking photo of his son on a hospital bed, tubes and medical equipment surrounding his tiny body, a massive surgical scar marking where doctors had worked to save his life. "Thank you for the continued prayers for baby Crue," Brandon wrote on Facebook. "Things are going good so far and his numbers are where they want them to be." The successful transplant was a miracle, but it came at an emotional cost. Watching his infant grandson fight for his life tested Troy's faith and resolve in ways that gator hunting never could. The man who had faced down countless dangerous predators was powerless against a disease that threatened to take away one of the people he loved most. But 2025 wasn't finished testing Troy's endurance. In July, he lost two more people who meant the world to him. William Jr. Lawrence Edwards Jr., known simply as Junior Edwards, passed away peacefully at his home on July 26 at the age of 61 after a courageous battle against colon cancer. Junior had appeared in seasons 1 through 6 of Swamp People, and returned for season 12 in 2021, totaling 100 episodes. He was known as another King of the Swamp and was a commercial fisherman and native of Bayou Sorrel, Louisiana. Around the same time, Mr. Sterling Fryo, a mentor figure who had appeared on the show over the years, also passed away. Losing two important people in the same week was almost unbearable. Troy posted on social media, "Not one but two of my old buddies have gone to a better place this week." It makes you realize how much we take for granted and how blessed we truly are. Please keep their families in your thoughts and prayers as the Swamps has lost two great guys this week. The loss of Junior Edwards was particularly difficult because he represented the last connection to the early days of Swamp People. Junior had been there from the beginning, when the show was just starting and nobody knew it would become a cultural phenomenon. His expertise, his humor, and his authentic Bayou personality had helped establish the show's credibility. Ashley "Deadeye" Jones, another cast member, captured the sentiment perfectly. He was one of the greatest alligator hunters there is. He was real hardcore outdoorsman. personal tragedies weren't the only challenges Troy faced. In September 2024, he encountered legal troubles that threatened his reputation and livelihood. He was cited by the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries for 2 counts of failing to properly tag an alligator during a sting operation at Lake Pallard in St. Mary Parish. The incident occurred when LDWF agents observed Troy setting up gator lines and discovered he didn't have the correct property-specific tags required by Louisiana law. According to official reports, Troy admitted to agents that he had taken an alligator from the area but couldn't find the tags that were gifted to him for the hunt. Even more concerning, he admitted that prior to agents making contact with him, he had cut a dead, stiff alligator loose from his line and let it float away. Authorities seized Troy's boat and engine, and he faced up to 120 days in jail and a $950 fine for each violation. The incident sparked controversy among fans and critics alike. Some argued that with his substantial income, Troy didn't need to be bending the rules. Critics pointed out that by attempting to skirt around regulations, he was both sidestepping necessary restrictions that protect alligator populations and taking more than he needed. For someone who had built his reputation on being a responsible hunter and conservationist, the citations were embarrassing and potentially damaging to his career. Troy's daughter-in-law Lindsay attempted to downplay the incident, telling Outdoor Life, "It was just a ticket. Nothing happened. I don't know why everyone blew it out of proportion." But for Troy, who had always prided himself on his integrity and respect for hunting regulations, the legal troubles were another weight to carry during an already difficult period. Throughout all these tragedies, Troy has shown remarkable resilience. Despite his cancer surgery, his grandson's health crisis, the deaths of close friends, and legal troubles, he continues to appear on Swamp People and its spin-off, Swamp Mysteries with Troy Landry. In April 2025, while filming Swamp Mysteries, Troy and his hunting partner Pickle made a shocking discovery when they found human remains believed to be thousands of years old. The archaeologist working with them was amazed at how well the bones had been preserved in Louisiana's acidic swamp environment, which usually breaks down organic material quickly. The discovery was just another reminder of how the bayou holds both life and death, history and mystery. For Troy, who has spent his entire life on these waters, finding ancient human remains was both fascinating and sobering. It connected him to the countless generations who had lived and died in these swamps before him, and it reminded him of his own place in that long continuum. As Swamp People entered its 16th season in January 2025, Troy remains one of the show's most beloved figures. His authenticity, his connection to the land, and his ability to find joy and humor even in the darkest times have endeared him to millions of fans worldwide. But behind the cameras and the catchphrases, Troy carries the weight of tremendous loss and ongoing worry. The tragedies that have shaped Troy Landry's life would have broken many people. Losing friends to sudden death, battling cancer, watching an infant grandson fight for his life, and facing legal troubles that threatened everything he'd built, any one of these challenges would test a person's limits. But Troy has faced them all while maintaining his dignity, his faith, and his commitment to the way of life that defines him. Today, Troy continues to hunt gators, film television shows, and support his family through their ongoing challenges. Baby Crue's transplant appears to have been successful, but the family knows they're not out of the woods yet. Recovery from such a major surgery is a long process, especially for someone so young. Troy's own cancer appears to be in remission, but he knows the disease can return without warning. The legal troubles seem to have been resolved quietly, and Troy has returned to normal filming and social media activity. But the incident serves as a reminder that even beloved public figures are human, capable of making mistakes under pressure. What makes Troy Landry's story so compelling isn't just the tragedies he's faced, but how he's handled them. Throughout everything, he's maintained his connection to family, to tradition, and to the land that shaped him. He's never lost sight of what truly matters, the people he loves and the life he's built in the Louisiana bayou. As Troy himself has said, "We live simple down here because that's the way we choose to live. I grew up in the bayous and the swamps, and I'm happy where I'm at and doing what I'm doing." Despite all the heartbreak, all the loss, and all the challenges, Troy Landry remains exactly where he belongs, on the swamp, with his family, living the life his ancestors passed down to him. His story reminds us that tragedy is often the price we pay for a life fully lived, for deep connections, and for staying true to who we are. Troy Landry has paid that price multiple times over, but he's still standing, still hunting, still saying, "Ch-em," with that infectious grin that made him famous. In a world that often feels superficial and disconnected, Troy's authentic response to genuine tragedy offers something rare, proof that it's possible to endure the worst life can throw at you and still find reasons to keep going.